The old people have a very important role in giving guidance, but now you take guidance from ChatGPT. Someone asked me that earlier this year. Can we have ChatGPT as a guru? Internet, social media, now AI is going to make it. We don't even know where it's going to take us.
Where do you see this going?
Everywhere. Children are having sex, literally children. That's in the West more, but it'll come here also. Parents don't know what to do. Why should governments allow the porn? They should smash it, but they don't. It's big business. Maybe the politicians like it too. It's spoiling people's minds. It spoils people's character. Kaliyuga is an ocean of faults. Expect everything to be bad in Kaliyuga. So really the Harinam is the way to counteract Kaliyuga. Everything can improve by this. Bharat is the place where people have those sanskars, and if they take this very seriously, then Bharat can be should be the spiritual leader of the world. This land has tremendous potential.
What is the real progress, from the Vedic perspective?
Real progress means to become free from Kam, Krodh, Lo, Moha, Mada, Matsaya. That's real progress.
At least we have to look at the West. What did they achieve, after all this material progress? And we have to learn from that,
Learn what not to do.
Learn what not to do.
Yeah. So practically the whole world is a madhouse. People just working. They don't know what happens at death. They don't know who they are. But at least one thing I know for sure. I'm not this body. This body is temporary. We go from body to body to body. I speak to one man and then he said to me, "Aapko dekhe hame sharam lagta hai. Aap jo karte hain, hame karna chahiye. Lekin hum nahi karte, aap karte hain." Maine kaha, "To aap bhi karo." Kyun nahi karte?
Kyun nahi karte?
If I can do it, surely you can do it.
So this is also another Western concept, Swamiji. That this is only one life and you enjoy and you do whatever you want to do because it's going to all get over. And now this concept has come. They have a kind of come up with an acronym called YOLO.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that. Okay, you only live once.
Yeah, I could work that out. But all philosophy is there in Bharata. The Charvak, Bhasmi Bhutasya Dehasya Kinkana Agamano Bhavet.
Yeah.
Just enjoy yourself. You're never going to. When the body's burned, it's finished. You're not going to come back again.
And that is the only philosophy the West, I think, took from here. It is one of the philosophies.
But our Srila Prabhupada, he pointed out that verse begins, Rinang kritva gritang pibet yavat jivet sukham jivet. Beg, borrow or steal, and you must take ghee. Because as long as you live, you should just enjoy. So Prabhupada pointed out, at least people were taking ghee. It's high class. He didn't say to eat meat. Although that's another thing. Meat eating is also there in Vedic culture, and that's also there. We can't deny. But it's not meant for sattvic people. There's allowance for everyone. It's a very complete culture.
Correct. So having been born in a Western country and spending the initial years, till your adolescent in UK and then coming to Bharat, and then living here, if I have to ask you, what are the fundamental differences that you have seen in Western country as compared to, Bharat?
You can really see it when you go outside, you go to the West and you come back again. The moment you arrive, or if you're on Air India, you feel the difference immediately. When I'm in this country, I'm thinking, it's so westernized, it's falling away from his culture. But then you go out and you come back again, and you can see it's still, we're saying the culture's under attack, but it's still. Differences, well, one thing is, one very prominent thing is that just wearing this dress, there's widespread respect for sadhus in Bharata, which is non-existent in the West. You still see young people helping their elderly grandparents. Still goes on. People go to temples in the West. Yeah, people go to churches, but not to Krishna temples. Mostly in the West now, it's Indians going. It's a time of great cultural change, going so quickly, isn't it? With internet, social media, now AI is going to make it. We don't even know where it's going to take us. So yeah, maybe I should give the question back to you, because you've seen the world. What do you find?
Well, I absolutely agree with what you said. When you're here, you feel concerned, when you look around, at things. But if you travel abroad and then you come back and you say, wow, still, things are much better here.
Yeah.
But ultimately, where are we heading? We have to ask ourselves this question, in which direction we are going, what exactly we are aiming for. And in the bigger cities, now that, the cultural change or the cultural decimation is very, very rampant. And that's a cause of great concern to me. Because when I see the youth, they're totally disconnected. Not from their roots, not from their culture, but from themselves. Maybe any country, maybe India or any Europe or Americas, or Africa, there are certain fundamental human instincts that keeps you rooted, in life, in the fundamentals. Now that is getting disconnected in the bigger cities in India. I'm not comparing it with West, because that's not a model that we should go for. I'm just looking at Bharat. Look at our civilization. Look at our knowledge traditions. It should not happen in Bharat. What pains me most is when I am seeing the things which are happening in the bigger cities, in the metros, of Bharat. That is very, very concerning for me. And nobody knows the solution. I talk to the parents, they have no solution. They don't know what to do. They ask, me sometimes that what should I do? How should I handle this, So, look, while trying to copy the West, where has, this generation or, the landed, themselves, where have they come? So they are in a major distress situation. I would say that maybe in some cases more than the West itself,
Yeah, I agree.
So now this has to be reversed. This has to be stopped. And Prachyam is trying to do exactly that. Or, your life and your messages, and I'm going to come to that, is also doing the same thing. It is just that we just show them what truly they belong to. Just a glimpse of that, We, like you found answers to your questions when you read, the English translation of Śrīmāda Bhagavatam. Somewhere, it appealed to you.
Yeah, it appealed to me, but it wasn't until I went and spoke with the devotees, and then there was a lot of back and forth.
But that led you to go to the devotees.
Yeah, that led me to seek out the devotees. Yeah.
And that is where everything starts. You start seeking. And this is what we are trying at Prachyam. If through our films, if we can show them, because they're not reading books now. So even through shorts or reels or videos or films, if that quest comes from within them to seek in life, to at least try, they will find the answers. They will find solutions to all their problems. And I think this is what we all have to do.
To awaken the spiritual spark.
Yeah.
Demonstrating that reincarnation is a fact should prompt people to see themselves and their lives in a completely different light. Is it not?
Absolutely.
You're not just what you identify with now, but it's a continuum. And what you do now is going to affect your future also. And along with knowledge of reincarnation comes the understanding that actually life in this world is miserable. And although society should be organized in such a way that people have a certain level of security, all kinds of stability, economic stability, marital stability, mental stability, but at the same time we should know that punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, overall is not a good deal. The ultimate aim is to get out of this world. We're trying to awaken people's spiritual sensibilities. Another way is to try to do it from the top. Australia has just doing an experiment with that, trying to ban children from using phone. I don't know I doubt if they're going to be successful in doing that, but big moves from the top can also really shake things up if that can be done. India's imported Western ideas, Western systems of governance, that separates people from the governors and the governed are separate. Previously, if there's a local dispute, it would be settled locally with the panchayat, or there's within your own jati, the elders would make a decision. Otherwise, you have to go to the police, you have to make a case, you have to go to the court, and most people can't afford it. But otherwise, the whole legal process is settled locally. So that's just one example of how adopting a legal system which is foreign to the ethos, to the Sanskriti, and how much distress comes out of the legal system. How many people are suffering from legal complications? And there's no end in sight. Yeah, that's another real. Life is horrible. Should be settled quickly, locally. Women aren't safe. That's the complaint that comes out. If porn is everywhere, then why should that be? It should be stopped. Why should governments allow the porn? But they should smash it. But they don't. It's big business. Maybe the politicians like it too. But it's spoiling people's minds. It spoils people's character. The people who are indulging in it, many of them, they feel terrible about it, but they're addicted to it. Children learn how to have sex by watching porn, and then they try it out with other children. That's just one of the things. One reason, maybe people don't want to talk about it very much, why there's so much mental disturbance, because dushparana nalena cha, the lust burns like fire in the heart, it just increases and increases. So that's another major aspect of Bharatiya Sanskriti. There's dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So kama is there, but it has to be kept under control, because it's like fire, and it can burn, it can just go out of control, and then it spoils your life. But that's everywhere. Porn, and then children are having sex, literally children. That's in the West more, but it'll come here also. Parents don't know what to do. On Srila Prabhupada's order, I'm overseeing, well, he wanted farm projects, simple living and high thinking, in which we're showcasing living simply on the land and cultivating Krishna consciousness. So people can come, at least they can come and see that you don't have to live this kind of life. There is an alternative. And that on what we need, Krishna kindly gives from the land, roti, kapra, makan. That everything, food, clothing, shelter, everything local. Live simply. So we're trying to demonstrate that. People were more happy previously in India. But pretty much everyone would rise early and they'd do jap or puja or dhyan or Gita part. Everyone would do something religious. They'd start the day like that. Shop, still that's going on. You open the shop in the morning, first thing you have to do, little puja. So that dharmic basis was there. Take that away and then India is just another country, that's all. Struggling with social problems, psychological problems, economic problems, and political problems. India's minus dharma equals just another big mess, that's all.
Where do you see this going,
Well, Bhagavatam tells us that we can practically expect this. We can expect everything to break down in Kaliyuga. Tatas chanudinam dharmas satyam shocham shamadaya kalena balina rajan nangshanti ayur balang smritihi. In Kaliyuga, with the passing of every day, there will be a decrease, but there is one solution, which is also given in Bhagavatam. Kale dosha nidhe rajan astihi eko mahan guna. This Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Expect everything to be bad in Kali Yuga. But there is one great quality. Kirtanad eva Krishnasya mukta sangha parangrajet. That by glorifying Krishna, by Krishna Kirtan, we can be free from the effects of Kali Yuga and get mukti, go to Krishna in the spiritual world. So really the Harinam is the way to counteract Kali Yuga. Everything can improve by this. And although that might sound fantastic, but it's the version of Shastra, and it's demonstrated what Srila Prabhupada has done by bringing it to the Western countries, to the most unlikely people. So Bharat is the place where this has the greatest opportunity. People in this land, by their previous sanskaras, previous karmas, are closer to Krishna. In general, they're more spiritually enlightened. Of course, so many asuras were. Kamsa was also in Bharat, but people have those sanskars, and if they take this very seriously, then Bharat should be the spiritual leader of the world. Now is the time more than ever when the people of the world need a spiritual solution, because materially there's so much development and people are just becoming more and more frustrated. The only solution, Einstein says, you cannot solve a problem at the same level of consciousness that you made it. You have to come to a higher level. So we have to come to the spiritual level. It's the only solution for all the material problems. And Krishna has given that in Bhagavad Gita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Srila Prabhupada would quote again and again and again about what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Bharata bhumite hoila manusha janmaja janma shata kari karo para upaka. Those who have taken human birth in Bharata, they should janma shata kari, they should make their life meaningful and successful, and karo para upaka means benefit others in the best possible way. And that means giving the knowledge by which we can lead our lives in a materially satisfying way and spiritually fulfilling. This land has tremendous potential. Every Indian is a potential acharya. Anyone in the world,
Very well said, yeah.
everyone in the world, but especially people here can take this culture very easily. They don't have so many mental hang-ups. Or even if they do, they can be much more easily dismantled. We find many people, the Hindus, they grow up as atheists, so no interest. They get some contact, they take it up. It's there, it's dormant. Sanskar is there. It needs to be awakened. Now at a time when, especially young people all over the world, are just questioning, what's going on? Why this situation? Now is the time for Bharatiyas to take the treasure of their own culture, cultivate it in their own hearts, and spread it everywhere.
If you have to give, one message to the youth, of this country, what would that be?
Individually, it's the same message to everyone, everywhere, at every time. Labdva sudurlabamidang bahusambhavante manusham artadam anityam api hadira turnam yatetanapatedhanumritya yavan nisrayasaya vishaya kalu sarvatasyat. I'll say that in English, it's quite a mouthful. Now you have a human life. Just try to understand, we have a human life after many, 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 many births, and it won't last long. So think soberly and do whatever you need to do so you don't get born again. And Krishna adds a postscript to that. And if you think, well, let me just enjoy my life, the cats and dogs are also doing that. Utilize your human life in the best possible way. And for guidance on how to do that, Srila Prabhupada, he made a whole society of devotees who are trained in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. We have Srila Prabhupada's books. You can take advantage. Message to the youth. Well, I have a book. Message to the youth of India. There's a book. But in brief, if you want to say it, well, see that there are many young people like you in this country who are reforming and improving their lives on the basis of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and the chanting of Hare Krishna. You can also be one of them. You don't have to be miserable just because society imposes it on you.
Correct. I think the whole thing has not been understood properly,
Yeah.
The governments are busy, in development, progress, building infrastructures and highways and, all the facilities. But is that real progress? So I want to ask you, what is the real progress, from the Vedic perspective?
Yeah, you can drive faster on a road, but in your heart, there's so much dissatisfaction, and your family's falling apart, and you have so many anxieties from bills to pay, and your neighbors threatening you with a court case, and you have so many health problems. What does that mean? This whole idea of progress. What is this idea of progress? The idea that we have to have more and more, more and more, more and more. Again, the Bharatiya idea is that real progress means improvement of character. Real progress means to become free from kam, krodh, lobh, moha, mada, matsarya. That's real progress. So yeah, the government, they have to see to the material side, but they should also foster the spiritual side. If you leave that out, then it's the decoration of a dead body. A dead body may look very nice, you decorate it, but there's no life inside. So we have so much big buildings, fancy roads, bullet trains like Japan 50 years after they made. We're finally getting some. But if people inside are spiritually dead, what's the benefit? There's no progress. What's the use of such progress? The dog is running fast on 4 legs and we're running fast on 4 wheels. But if our consciousness is nothing more than ahara nidra bhayamaitanam cha, eating, sleeping, fearing, and sex, then how are we more advanced than the animals? They do that also.
So what do you think, what metrics the government should use to measure this?
Well, the government's duty is to make material arrangements, but they should foster an atmosphere for spiritual teaching also. When we talk about Bharatiya Sanskrit, this is very controversial to talk about this, varnashram dharma. Different people have different duties. The government or the kshatriyas, they have to arrange for agriculture, trade, commerce, security for the people. But they should also foster a class of brahmanas. And we're not talking here about someone who just has a brahmana name, but one who has actually got the qualities of a brahmana, who can be a real spiritual leader. So that should be cultivated also. That means we have to go back to Gurukul education. It may not be for everyone, but there should be a class of people who can give spiritual guidance. That is required. That was another Srila Prabhupada's desire. He wanted to make a class of brahmanas, real brahmanas, again, not just by birth, but by quality, who can give spiritual leadership to the whole society.
At least we have to look at the West. What did they achieve, after all this material progress? See, and we have to learn from that,
Learn what not to do.
Learn what not to do.
Yeah.
See, in spite of all the progress that they made, but you see the miserable life of people there.
Yeah, miserable.
The society is falling apart.
Miserable.
The family is falling apart.
And there's the whole concept of family is almost gone.
Almost gone.
In the West, yeah.
And it's very sad to see that, I could never understand that. I could never relate with it, How could that be, A quick pause. Every story we create at Prachyam is born from deep passion for Bharatiya culture and heritage. To help us continue this Anushthan, please be a part of this. Subscribe to this truly Bharatiya OTT at www.prachyam.com or scan this QR code of prachyam.org to donate for this cause. Your support helps us keep this cultural journey alive. Be a part of this dharmic resurgence. Every drop counts. Now, back to your experience. Jai Shri Ram.
The thing is that marriage in all societies has always been a religious function. You're married in a church, it's called a sacrament. It's supposed to be a vow before God. In Islam also, in Buddhism also, in Vedic dharma or Hinduism, it used to be a prolonged ceremony, not that you just finish it in one day, but it would go on for days. And it's a commitment, a dharmic commitment, in front of the fire, because the understanding is that we are coming together, not simply in the way that cats and dogs come together, but with a purpose to serve a higher purpose, to serve God or to act within dharma. But if that is gone, and then people say, oh, what's the need of marriage? And you can have sex, and if you want, you produce children. If not, you don't have to. Because there's no sense of dharma. So, and that's given to us from the schools. We're taught that we're just chemicals. What are you? You are just chemicals. Just some evolved chemical system. And then there's no higher aim in life. And then why not do whatever you want to do? Why bother thinking about others? Why bother care for others? You only live once, and then afterwards there's nothing happens, you just die. So you are just a bunch of chemicals. And that doesn't foster any higher culture in people, higher aspirations. So this mechanistic science has the idea that there's only matter, there's no spirit, that kills the human spirit. And I mean, the society is predictable. Why should people why should they care for others?
Correct. But the problem is, that many people say that, these Vedic values are outdated now.
How can it be outdated? If we understand that we are eternal Atma, as Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, how can that be outdated?
Very correct.
You could say it's outdated in as much as the values of society have changed, but that's the whole point we're contending. That the values of society have changed because the understanding of reality has changed, but the understanding of reality is incorrect because they think there's just matter, that's all. There's only chemicals, there's nothing else. But that is incorrect. So outdated because you've lost touch with reality. So to be out of date and be in touch with reality is better than fitting into a world which doesn't make any sense. It's good to be different. Yeah, in the madhouse, someone who's sane, they think he's insane, right? And why isn't it? What's wrong? He's not crazy like us. So practically the whole world is a madhouse. People just working. They don't know what happens at death. They don't know who they are. They don't know why they're living. And they think they even though they can see all around them that the same goals they're striving for doesn't make anyone happy, it doesn't make themselves happy, but still they think, I have to get more and more and more, and that will make me happy, even though it's clear that it doesn't make anyone happy. And that's called insanity, isn't it?
Well, your journey started from that madhouse.
Yeah.
Where do you think, what transformation came within you? How where this journey has brought you now? How do you feel now?
I gave a talk recently called What I Learned After 50 Years in Krishna Consciousness. And I can't say I've made much spiritual progress because there's always a lot further to go. But at least one thing I know for sure. I'm not this body. This body is temporary. We go from body to body to body. And there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And I am his eternal servant. There's an eternal relationship of love. Krishna consciousness means ultimately love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a question of love. Love is the ultimate principle.
Have you experienced that?
Yes.
Would you explain that?
Explain love?
No, that experience for our audience. How would you put it in, if it can be?
Let's put it this way. I can't say I'm advanced in Krishna consciousness because I've seen Srila Prabhupada, I've seen advanced devotees. I'm not on that level. But often people ask me, well, are you happy doing this? And I say, well, what do you think? I could give it up any time. I could have given it up any time. Why should I continue doing this if I'm not happy? So what is that happiness? We're getting Krishna's mercy. We're experiencing Krishna's mercy. Pratyakshavam dharmyam susukam kartamavyam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that this process is actually experienced. You can actually experience with susukha, not jara indriya sukha, but susukha, spiritual happiness, which continues forever. What is the experience? One time Srila Prabhupada was asked, what do you experience? He said, no fear. That was his instant, no fear. So definitely we're experiencing Krishna's love. And everyone who goes before Krishna, they may go before Shiva, or they may be before Jesus. But if they feel some reciprocation, something is there. But with Krishna and this whole system, there's a whole system of sadhana which helps to purify the consciousness. And the more the consciousness is purified, the more we can reciprocate with Krishna. Purified consciousness means calm, krodh, lobh, moha, mada, matsarya, asakti, all these things. That should come down. The more that comes down, the more we can go up.
Any such experience when you felt his presence?
Oh, that all the time. Is it not? To greater or lesser degrees, but Krishna is present in our lives. We're cultivating that. Srila Prabhupada gave an example. Once he was in an airport in America, and one of the staff asked him that, what is this Krishna consciousness? What does it mean? And Srila Prabhupada said, to think of Krishna all the time. He said, how can you think all the time? And Srila Prabhupada gave the example that it's just like you're working in the airport, but before you come to work, you make sure your hair is very nicely set and your dress, your blouse, everything is in order. And from time to time throughout the day, you check. So it's always there, at least in the back of your mind. It's a substratum in your consciousness. So in the same way, I might not be directly thinking of Krishna, but whatever we're doing, it's all meant for Krishna and Krishna's service. So it's always there. It's the driving force in our life behind everything we do. It's just like a mundane example. A man is working, he has his wife. He may not be thinking of her all the time, but his life is intimately and intricately connected with her. So she's never, it's his part of his identity. Of course, that's the Mayak Sansara, but with Krishna, we're cultivating the consciousness. Our identity, our whole being is intimately connected with Krishna. And with Krishna, it has to be a relationship of love.
So if a young boy, having born in UK, could come all this way, experience the love of Krishna, his presence, his bliss in his life.
Then
this is a big lesson to all the youth of this country.
Yes.
If
I can do it, surely you can do it.
Yes. And it's so important, to at least try and explore this path.
Yeah.
To at least read, such books.
Yeah.
I think that can be the turning point in life, That can trigger a quest to seek something, which is probably beyond all this.
Once I was speaking to a man in summer. I was speaking to one man, and he said to me, "Aapko dekhe hame sharam lagta hai. Aap jo karte hain, hame karna chahiye. Lekin hum nahi karte, aap karte hain." तो मैंने कहा था आप भी करो.
किसने रोका है?
क्यों नहीं करते?
क्यों नहीं करते? और आप तो करके ये दिखा रहे हो, है ना, कि तुम सब कर सकते हो. जब देखिए यहाँ के लोगों के लिए तो करना बहुत आसान है,
हाँ,
जैसा आपने कहा कि यहाँ तो वो लोग कितने ब्लेस्ड हैं कि भारत में जन्म हुआ है, वो उनके अंदर है आध्यात्म, स्पिरिचुअलिटी, बहुत ही आसानी से उसको मैनिफेस्ट कर सकते हैं। मैं तो ये सोचता हूँ स्वामी जी, और इसीलिए मुझे बहुत ही अच्छा लगा आपसे मिल के, आपसे बात करके, और बहुत प्रेरणा मिली कि उस अलग देश में, जिस देश का इतिहास कुछ और ही रहा है जिस देश ने पूरी दुनिया को कॉलोनाइज करने के ही पूरा उसका इतिहास रहा, उस एक अलग रिलीजन में जन्म लेके उस परिस्थिति से आप अपना रास्ता आप ढूंढते हुए और इस अवस्था में, इस आनंद की अवस्था में आप आ गए हैं, यू नो, टू हैव कम इन ए स्टेट ऑफ दिस ब्लिस, टू लिव ए लाइफ ऑफ सच ए ब्लिस, दिस इज a great achievement, and it's a great inspiration for so many other people out there.
और ये भारत का मूल खजाना है।
ये भारत का मूल खजाना है, इसी को बस समझना है हमारे युवाओं को है। Our youth has to understand this, what they are blessed with, what treasure they are born with, जैसे अभी आपने बताया ना बांग्ला में है कि अपना खजाना जो है वो सब फेंक के और भीख मांग रहे हैं लोग हैं। आज यही स्थिति है। हमारा जो खजाना है, हमारा खजाना क्या है? हमारा जो ज्ञान है, दर्शन है, दृष्टिकोण है, विज्ञान है, शास्त्र है, परंपरा है, इतना अद्भुत है, इतना अनंत सागर है, उन सबको हम भूल गए और हम भीख मांग रहे हैं, जाके भीख मांग के बाहर के लोगों की संस्कृति, कल्चर, और हम लेके आ रहे हैं और उसको फॉलो कर रहे हैं लाइफ में।
श्रील प्रभुपाद पाश्चात्य देश जाने के पहले श्रील प्रभुपाद भारत में प्रचार करते थे, और बहुत कम लोग उनका संदेश सुनने के लिए तैयार नहीं थे। तो श्रील प्रभुपाद ने सोचा, और बाद में श्रील प्रभुपाद बताया कि ये हमारे देश के लोग तो सब पाश्चात्य अंदाज की संस्कृति के पीछे जा रहे हैं, तो मैं वहाँ जाकर कुछ लोग भक्त बना दूँगा और यहाँ वापस आऊँगा। फिर वो भारतीय लोग देखेंगे कि पश्चिमी लोग अभी भक्ति करते हैं, तो हमें भी करनी चाहिए। और सक्सेसफुल हुआ उनकी योजना। श्रील प्रभुपाद ने कहा कि मेरे पश्चिमी भक्त नाचने वाले सफेद हस्ती है, dancing white elephants.
बिल्कुल। So Swāmī, if I have to ask you, what are the basic fundamental things that the children in this country, should be taught right from the early ages? What would that be?
The same thing that they were taught previously is being lost now. Now they learn English nursery rhymes, but they should learn about Sita and Ram. They should learn the stories from the Puranas. And it's not just a matter of learning mentally, but picking up the culture by seeing that all around you. The first guru is the mother. They have such an important role in shaping the children. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, as the saying in English. How much important the role of mothers in giving cultural training. Mothers, grandmothers, and the children see how their parents interact. Traditionally, the family means not hum do hamare do, but it's a big family. See how the elders are served. So the whole cultural package, it's not just a matter of one or two things. In the home, there should be spiritual activities also. Puja, daily, going on. That was there everywhere. Everyone did it. And there was a sense of pride in tradition also, was there not? That should be revived. It's a very cruel thing that the Deshi Sahibs have done, is to mock that which was given the greatest reverence, to undermine it so cruelly and just say, oh, there's just stupid stories for stupid people.
There also seems to be a lot of confusion about the purpose of education. Now, what do you think is missing in our education system here?
Purpose of education is money and prestige. And that's what it comes down to. Education without culture is compared to a jewel on the hood of a snake. It has value, but it's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. Without culture, without a higher goal of life, then the education is just to get money so you can eat and sleep and have sex and pass stool in a more comfortable way. And what is the value? Now if the girls have to go, they're sent off to some other place, to some college, and then they have to sign the parents have to sign an indemnity bond. If my daughter has if she gets pregnant, we won't sue the school, we won't hold her. That means you're sending them into an atmosphere where you know it's likely enough to happen that you have to sign in advance that we won't make any legal case. You're sending your children into a situation where they're going to be exposed to drugs. Why send them at all? It's more important than education to get a job is education how to uplift your character. Actually, the children nowadays, life is horrible. You see from a very early age, before school they have tuitions, then they have school, then they have after-school tuitions, and they just have to work. They're under such pressure from the beginning of it. And they have suicide syndrome, quota, suicide capital. Why should it be? Why so much stress? Poor children are suffering. And then at the end of it, you don't get a job anyway half the time. You end up with a big debt, and they're selling toy bears on the side of the road. We've seen so many unemployed graduates. The whole education, the whole way of society needs looking at. Where are we going? What are we doing? Why are we torturing the children so much? Previously, there were doctors in human society, but there wasn't this torture.
Swāmīji, the greatest strength of Bharat was, the greatest tradition that we had, since thousands of years. That tradition which preserved, the knowledge, the wisdom through generations, through ages. The tradition was, the Guru Shishya Parampara. And it's so unfortunate, that this great tradition was totally decimated, by the Britishers when they came and colonized Bharat. What are your thoughts, that how important it is to bring back, this Guru Shishya Parampara, this Guru Shishya tradition?
Oh, absolutely.
And when you compare that, with the present education system, what are the...
Teacher is a job. There's a saying, if you can't do something properly, then you teach it. In other words, say you have a degree in physics, but you can't get employment, then you become a teacher. And it's, the gurus, they care for the disciples. But the teacher is a job. And so many students come through, and you don't care for them. It's just you're just doing a job, that's all.
So if you have to put it in words, at the crux of everything, the crisis, the confusion, the decay, the sickness that we are seeing around, is all because there is no proper education model in place.
But culture is a whole packet. You just can't say it's the Guru Shishya Parampara. Because, like I was saying, it begins from, actually even from before birth, where they have Garbhadhan Sanskar, and there are various sanskars for the woman while she's pregnant. And then at birth, it begins, the acculturation. You can't just send a child. For Brahmanas, it was traditionally at the age of 8, they would start Vedadhyayana. But before that, there's so much training in the home, in culture, how to live, how to respect elders, how to interact with others. So it's a whole package. Like I say, I'm trying to effect one of Srila Prabhupada's desires by making microcosmic Vedic communities with simple living and high thinking and gurukuls. It could be reproduced should be reproduced on a larger scale.
But as you said, that education, the true education is when it helps to develop a character.
Yeah.
And if that is not developed,
not there, then
then life is a misery.
Yeah.
Then the family institution is also going to fall apart.
Yeah. So
I think in the West we have seen it largely happening. Would you elaborate on that? That how important is the formation of character?
Yeah. Family. What does it mean? It means a big unit of brothers, grandparents, and children. And also, if families are not individual units, in a village, they're all living together, right? So that you'll see, just like I saw in the villages in Bangladesh when I was traveling in the 1980s, and in these village communities that I'm involved in, that the children, yes, okay, they sleep in one house, but they run in and out of each of different houses, and if one of the children is misbehaving with another child, any adult can just chastise them. And in the West, you can't do that. If you say something to someone else's child, the parents of that child, even the child is misbehaving, any adult should be able to tell them. In other words, there's a family and there's a whole village unit. So again, it's a whole culture, it's a whole civilization. And each individual doesn't identify just as an individual. They're a member of a family. We have to maintain the family's values and traditions. It's our duty to do so. And then not so much the area. They're just like we had the states were made on a linguistic basis, kind of. But previously people were identified with their jati more than their linguistic culture. More than I'm a Bengali or I'm a Marathi, I'm a member of this jati. So now that's not necessarily a bad thing. The caste has been misused, but there are also many advantages of that. For instance, you don't have job anxiety. You grow up and you're already trained in something which you're going to do, and you maintain it. And also the discipline is maintained within the jati. You don't have to go to law courts. There's a professor, Vaidyanathan in Bangalore, wrote that book, Caste as Social Capital, in which he showed actually that there's a value in caste. It's misuse, yes, but there's also a value in the values and the culture of it. Just look, for instance, okay, this Ola, new business set up by Marwari. Then Zomato, Marwari Bania. New businesses, they're not. Is it a surprise that it's Marwari Banias who are doing it? They have, by their previous sanskars, they have this intelligence for doing business, and they have the desire to do that. So that can be trained and cultivated. Not that education, everyone goes into the same education system. I'll give an example. At one of our farms in Andhra Pradesh, one of my disciples there, he's by jati, he's from a weaver caste. But he never did that in his life, nor did his father. He was doing IT work before. And then he joined our farm and he was doing different things, farming, this, that. Then he started doing weaving, which his grandfather had last done. And he said that I've done many things in my life, and I was good at all of them, but I never felt such satisfaction as I found doing weaving.
It's in the DNA.
It really is, yeah, as we'd put it in modern terms. So the Varnashram system is for encouraging that and bringing it out. You're saying that Guru Shishya Parampara, yes, that is there. But a lot of the training is within the family setup also. And for most children, there wouldn't be any big, high education. Whatever they need to do, they're trained to do it. They have their role in society.
And what guidance does our Vedic culture offer for sustaining strong families?
Well, it's the whole culture is there, that the elders are to be respected, but they also have to act in a respectable way. It's not just because you're elder that you should be respected, but they are respectable by their dignity within the family. It's expected at a certain stage of life. Children aren't expected to be sophisticated or dignified, but the elders, they maintain a certain dignity. And now you see older women, they're 60 years old, and they're putting lipstick and perfume. And at that age, you should be just simple, not decorating the body, men and women. And in this way, they're detached from that material enjoyment, which at that age you can't. What are you going to do? Enjoy the body at that age? And that wisdom should be cultivated throughout life by serving elders, by engaging in sadhana, by hearing sadhus, so that as you grow up, slow down, and then the old people have a very important role in giving guidance. But now you take guidance from ChatGPT.
The new grandfather and granny is there.
New guru. Someone asked me that earlier this year. Can we have ChatGPT as a guru? Yeah, you can get a lot of information out of it, but you won't get any personal interaction, even if it imitates. And you won't get the mercy of Krishna. People think education means information, cramming information, and learning how to think so you can solve problems, mathematical problems, or actually that's not so deeply in the Indian educational system. It's more information cramming, more geared toward that. But education means to develop character, which is based on knowledge. Atmo pamyena sarvata samam pashati yojuna sukham vayadivadu kam sat yogi paramo mataha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if you can see others are suffering and having happiness like yourself, then you're the topmost yogi. It's something like the golden rule, they say. Treat others as you would have them treat you. But it comes from deep realization that all living beings, we're all living beings. I'm not more important than you. What I want is not the ultimate goal of existence. You want something, I want something. We should all act for the ultimate benefit of everyone. That's how societies can stay strong, isn't it? Cooperation rather than individualism. The modern education's success, get ahead, is very much based on individual achievement. But that brings out self-centeredness, selfishness. Should it not be that education means to foster a spirit of cooperation so that we're all working together rather than in competition? These are big questions. India has so many intelligent people. They can come together and work on this, should work on it.
Swamiji, you travel around the world. And
to many places. I still haven't been to Africa or South America or China. There are many places I haven't been to. But yeah, I do travel quite a lot.
Well, you do travel, a lot, So, and you observe, those places, their society, their culture, and you've been living here, you've been following, you have been living the bliss of Krishna consciousness, which is so important, which is priceless, And this is, I'm asking from, the point of view of the audience, they might, what I'm asking, the answer to this, might give a lot of clarity to them. If you have to tell them what are the things that they need to be careful about, what are the things that they should definitely follow, about their own culture. What are the dangers of blindly following, the other culture or, the other way of lives,
From the timeless Vedas to the valiant warriors, from the wisdom of the rishis to the dreams of a new Bharat, our civilization has never stopped inspiring the world. Prachyam, the world's first Indic OTT, brings the glory of Bharat to the world. 400 plus films and series. From history to heritage, from devotion to discovery, every story is an offering to our eternal civilization. From G20 to Tokyo, the world is witnessing the voice of Bharat rise again.
बहुत बड़ी सनातन की सेवा होती है.
ज्ञान का पुनरुद्धारण का कार्य है.
Prachyam is doing an amazing job.
60 साल में हमने जो खोया वो वापस लाने का काम कर रहा है.
आपका ये प्रयत्न ईश्वर की आराधना ही है.
Your contribution is not a donation. It is an ahuti in this Mahayagya of the Indic Renaissance.
तो सब्सक्राइब करें प्राचम।